Hey, Anna.
Hi, Drew.
Thanks for picking me up.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah.
You're a couple minutes late. Where you been?
Oh, I stopped at McDonald's because I really wanted something to eat. And so I got some French fries.
I smell them.
Yeah, don't they smell so good?
It's one of the best smells.
Yeah.
Can I have a couple fries?
Why?
Well, I've been working all day. I didn't get lunch, and I'm really hungry. Could I maybe just a couple?
Okay. You know what? I got a large fry, so I'll share my fries with you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Do you want some ketchup too?
Yeah.
Okay, here you go.
Thank you.
And that's so funny because today in the van, I want to talk about two people who one guy was asked to share food with another guy. Mm-hmm. And then the story just blows up from there.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, buckle up. Let's go.
From the stories of Noah's Ark and Anna on the lawn, through the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John. Whether you're new to this or an avid Sunday schooler, we'll learn about the Bible,
Just like church.
But even cooler!
and we take what we learn and we use what we find to go into the world and let the light of God shine.
Buckle up, kids.
Minivangelism. It's time to go Minivangelism. In faith we grow Minivangelism. Let's start the show!
All right. So, how are the fries?
Delicious.
Good. Are you not hungry anymore?
Not as hungry.
Awesome. Awesome. So, today I want to talk about another parable that Jesus told.
Can't wait.
Yeah. And remember, parables are stories that Jesus told to teach lessons. And today we are going to be telling the parable of the rich man and Lazarus.
This one's kind of wild.
I know. It is crazy. And it talks about like people living and people dying. It's kind of crazy, a little creepy.
Yeah.
Which reminded me, you wrote a song about this.
Yes.
That's
which is
a little crazy.
It's a little crazy and a little creepy.
I know, but you know what? Halloween's right around the corner.
Let's do it.
Let's listen to it. Let's go.
All right.
Das ist...
Picture a man so rich and so fine. From his head to his shoes, he was dressed to the nines. He thought to himself, oh, lucky me, I'm living in the lap of luxury. While out by the gate lay Lazarus, a poor man covered in sores and pus. He thought to himself, if I were able, I'd eat like a dog from that rich man's table. Hey, hey, what a shame. Can have all the fun and the fortune and fame, all the wealth in the world and the crown on your head, but it's not gonna bring you up from the dead. A couple days later, Lazarus died. The angels brought him home to sit by Abraham's side. The very next day, the rich guy died too. He found himself in Hades with nothing to do. The rich dead dude cried out from the clink, hey, beggar man and Abraham, give me a drink. A drop from your finger to quench my thirst. Have pity on me, this place is the worst. Hey, hey, what a shame. You can have all the fun and the fortune and fame, all the wealth in the world and the crown on your head, but it's not gonna bring you up from the dead. Abe called back, sorry, no can do. No man alive can get to you. Your whole life long you had the best. Now it's Lazarus' turn to enter his rest. The rich man said, then sound out a warning. Send word of my fate to my brothers in mourning. Old Abe said, Moses and the prophets told him how, but if they didn't listen then, why would they listen now? Hey, hey, is hope in Jesus' name. If he is the Lord and it's true what he said, then he might just bring you up from the dead.
Ooh, that song gives me the creeps, but like in a good way.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun doing that. I used a funny voice and everything.
I know. Yeah, it was a deep voice.
Yeah.
It was really great, though.
Thanks.
So the rich man and Lazarus, the rich man had a lot of food, right? And Lazarus would sit outside his gate and he just wanted a snack, right?
Yeah.
He was hungry and he was poor and he had sores all over his body. And the only friends that he had were dogs. And what did the dogs do?
They would lick the sores on his body. Yeah. Yeah, Jesus tells this part of the story, and it gets a little gross, Jesus.
Yeah, it's really gross.
Yeah.
But he would ask the rich man for food because the rich man had more than enough food. And Lazarus wasn't even asking, like, you asked for my French fries straight from the carton. Lazarus was asking for the scraps. That would be like you asking just for bag fries, right?
Yes.
Even though bag fries are the best
Or
fries.
even Van Floor fries.
Yes, which I wouldn't eat fries off this floor. It's
I might.
if you were hungry enough.
Yeah, free food is free food, and the 5-second rule starts when you see it.
But the rich man wouldn't even give him scraps. That would be like if I reached over and snatched up and ate the Van fries or threw the Van fries out the window, right? And so they both end up passing away. Lazarus goes to be with Abraham and the angels, and the rich man goes to a place that's not that. And it's not great. And he sees Lazarus and he says, hey, can you bring me some water, please? And Lazarus is like, nope, I can't get to you, buddy, because there's this big old chasm that's separating the two of us. What's a chasm?
It's like a big empty space.
Yeah, like just a big hole, essentially. And he's like, I can't get to you. And then the rich man says, you got to go tell my family about this and warn them. But what does Abraham say in response to that?
Abraham says they have the Bible, and the Bible talks about this kind of stuff. And if they haven't listened to Moses and the prophets, the folks who gave us the Bible, then why would they listen to me now?
Yeah.
And Abraham says nobody from here, no person that is dead can get to them. And they probably wouldn't even believe it if they did.
Yeah. Even if somebody should rise up from the dead.
Right.
Right. So that's the story. It's very quick. But it's a wild ride for
Yeah.
such a short story. So I want to go and talk to my friend Coleman. All right. Coleman is 7 years old and is the coolest kid ever. He plays ice hockey.
Wow.
Yeah. So you know he's tough.
I will pray for his teeth.
And I chose Coleman for this story because he's such a tough kid, right? And this is a tough story. So I'm going to go talk to Coleman. You can have the rest of my fries.
Yes.
Yes. So eat your car snack. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, Coleman.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Good. Okay, so I want to talk to you today about a parable. Do you remember what a parable is?
Like something Jesus says.
Yeah, it was a story that Jesus told, right? Okay, and then what parable do you think we're going to talk about today?
A rich man.
A rich man and who?
Lazarus.
Lazarus, that's right. So just breaking it down, we have the rich man who is obviously rich, right? Who was Lazarus?
He was a person who lived outside of him, and he had all these sores, and he was very poor, and
Yeah.
he would go up and ask for food, and the rich man wouldn't give him any.
No, the rich man wouldn't even give him any scraps from the table or anything. Do you know what a scrap of food is?
Like a crumb.
Yeah, it's just the leftovers,
Yeah.
right? What do you do with your leftovers?
Usually save it.
You save your leftovers? Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you have any pets?
Yes.
What kind of pet do you have?
A dog.
A dog? Does your dog eat the leftovers sometime?
Not all the time, but very rarely, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, these dogs in the story, the reason I chose you to talk about this story is because these dogs in the story did something pretty gross, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did they do?
They licked his sores.
They licked his sores?
Yeah.
Ew. Do you think that's gross?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. So, okay, when you read this story, hear this story, what are some things that you notice, or what are some things that you like make you uncomfortable in the story?
Like, he didn't share anything with him. And then, like, at one point he died.
Yeah. They both die, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happens to them after they die?
Well, Lazarus goes up to heaven, has no sores, hanging out with all the cool people. And then, the rich man goes down to, not heaven. And he, like, there's this, like, big hole that, like, they can't go through and anything. Like, he asks Lazarus to, like, bring him up.
Yeah.
And, like, they're like, no, you can't come. Like, I can't go to you.
Yeah. I can't go to you. I can't bring you to me. Like, it's pretty permanent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of your I wonder questions when you read this story?
I wonder what the rich man's name was.
What was the rich man's name? Yeah, because he doesn't have a name, does he?
Yeah, they just call him the rich man, but they call Lazarus Lazarus.
Yeah, Lazarus is in the story, and then there's somebody else that has a name in the story. Who else?
Abraham?
Abraham, that's right. So Lazarus and Abraham get names, but the rich man does not. I wonder why Jesus didn't give him the name. What do you think?
Maybe because his name was kind of like in Harry Potter, Voldemort's name, like the person who you shouldn't say their name.
Gotcha.
Like maybe like he has a bad reputation, so people don't want to say his name.
My God. Ooh, that's a really good answer. Like a really good thing that he was just so bad that you couldn't even say his name.
Yeah.
Cool. So Coleman, do you have any other I wonder questions?
I wonder how many sores Lazarus had.
Oh, like it was just one big sore or like a bunch of little ones?
Because it's like not every day you meet somebody who has like sores all over their body.
Yeah, it's pretty gross, yeah? What kind of, like, what do you think they looked like?
Probably these like big red bumps.
Oh, yeah? Have you ever gotten a blister?
Yes.
So do you think he had just like a bunch of blisters all over him?
Yeah.
Ew, that's pretty gross.
Yeah.
What's another question you had?
I wonder if the rich man was nice, would he have gone to heaven?
Oh, so if the rich man had been nicer, would he have gone to heaven?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Like, what could he have done to be nicer?
Maybe share his food, maybe donate some stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, what does this story tell us about God?
Tells us that, like, God loves you if you're poor, if you're rich, if you're basically anything.
Mm-hmm. That God loves you regardless, right? I like that. So in parables, there is it's kind of understood that at least one character in a parable is Jesus, right? When Jesus is telling a story, it's about himself. So who do you think is Jesus in this story?
Lazarus, because if one, Jesus didn't have the most money, two, he wasn't as wealthy, and three, people didn't treat him nice. And I just kind of feel like that's what Lazarus was treated like.
Yeah, that's really nice. I like that observation too. Man, this is a tough story, Coleman. I'm not gonna lie. Like when we were picking kids to interview, or when I was picking kids to interview for this story, I knew you were gonna bring the heat, and you are bringing the heat right now. So really nice job. Okay, Coleman. So I do this podcast with my friend Pastor Drew. And Pastor Drew thinks he knows a little bit about the Bible. But on the last episode, he got stumped. by a 5-year-old. That's pretty crazy, yeah? Do you know Gail?
A bit.
You know Gail? Yeah, can you believe she stumped a whole pastor?
No, I think she could have done it.
You think she could have done it? All right, what about you? You think you can stump him?
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
What kind of clothes did he wear?
Who?
The rich man.
What kind of clothes did the rich man wear?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's in the story too.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Let's see if Pastor Drew knows that one. Okay, what's your second one?
How did he get his sores?
How did Lazarus get his sores?
Yes.
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I'm not sure it's in the Bible, but still, I think Pastor Drew knows a doctor, and so he would be able to tell us. So we don't have to stump him about the Bible. We can just stump him on medical knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then what's the third one?
How many brothers did he have?
Who's he?
I meant the rich man.
How many brothers did the rich man have?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's another good one. That's the answer's in there. So let's see if he's paying attention to the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, those are 3 really good Stump Pastor Drew questions. All right. So thank you so much for talking to me.
You're welcome.
And before we go, I always like to have our kid guest host tell us a joke. So you got a joke for me today?
Yeah.
All right, hit me.
What did the mommy volcano say to the baby volcano?
What did the mommy volcano say to the baby volcano? I don't know.
I lava you.
That's a great joke. That's very good. Where did you hear that joke?
I forget. I heard it like when I was 3.
I love that. Well, that's a really good joke, Coleman. Well, thank you once again for talking to me. I really appreciate it. But I'm going to go back and talk to my friend Pastor Drew about it, okay?
Okay.
All right. Bye, Coleman.
Bye.
All right.
Welcome back.
Food?
It's good. It's empty, and I'm still a little hungry. So maybe later we can. I'll get you the next fries.
Okay, great. Thanks. Yeah, because that was a lot of fries, man.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what? It's good. I'm glad that you're not hungry anymore.
Thank you.
So Coleman, we talked about this story, and he knew so much about it, right? You could tell like he really studied this story, and Coleman had some like the thing that bothered him, or the thing that he noticed, was that the rich man just wouldn't share his food.
Yeah.
Lazarus wasn't asking to be like, take it in. He wasn't asking to spend the night at the guy's house or anything like that. He just wanted the leftover food, and the rich man wouldn't give it to him.
Yeah.
That stuck out to Coleman.
Yeah, it ain't right.
No, but he had some I wonder questions, and these are good I wonder questions that I'm hoping you will either have an answer to or we can wonder about together.
Sounds good.
So the first one is, what was the rich man's name? Or like, why wasn't he given a name?
Yeah. That's a great question. In the Bible, when somebody has a name, it usually means something. Mm-hmm. And Lazarus is a name that means, in Hebrew, it's like a shortening of a different name that means like redemption or like God's help. And Lazarus gets a name. The poor man gets a name. The rich man doesn't. And so some people think that is part of how Jesus tells the story on purpose, that helps us see who this story is really about or who it's really for. Mm-hmm. The rich man, you would think that if somebody was rich in their life or famous or got a lot done or whatever, that's the person you'd remember. But the Bible remembers the poor people. The Bible remembers Lazarus. So that's some of the idea about why we have one name but not the other.
Right.
But I've wondered that too. Like, what's that person's name?
Yeah. Coleman thinks that it's like Voldemort, where you can't say it because he was such a bad guy.
I like that. Yeah. That makes sense. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I thought that was a great observation. If you were reading this story, would you give the rich man a name?
That's what, yeah, I think I would, because I feel like if I'm naming some person, I need to name the other. So it's great that Coleman noticed that didn't happen, because I think that gives some idea about what the story is saying. Mm-hmm. And if I did give the rich man the name, I don't know, what's a rich name?
Reginald.
Reginald. That works. That works.
Yes, or like Maximilian.
Yes. There was a time when I wanted to name a child Maximilian.
Well, it's probably a good thing you didn't.
Didn't happen. Because, Max is cute, but I wanted like a nice, strong name. But then everybody would have thought he was rich.
Yeah.
And here I am eating your fries. So.
Or if it was a lady, if it was a rich lady, maybe like Contessa.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many apologies to anybody that has that name listening to this. We do not think of you that way.
We just lost 3 listeners named Reggie, Max, and Tessa.
Oh my gosh. So the next question that Coleman had, and I picked Coleman for this because Coleman is not afraid of the gross stuff.
Yeah.
So how many sores did Lazarus have? Like, was it just a couple? Were they all over his body? Like, what was the deal?
That is a great I wonder question. I imagine if we were to like draw it, like or illustrate this story, we'd have to make sure there were enough that you could tell that Lazarus was not well, that he really did have a problem. But I don't know the number. How many sores is too much?
I mean, I think it depends on the size, right?
Yeah.
If they're little sores, then, maybe 25.
Yeah.
But if they're big sores, like 10.
Yeah. Like how many bug bites is too many?
Well, how many did you get at that one summer camp?
Over 300.
Oh my God.
That was too many.
That's too many.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know how many. I think what I notice about that is that Jesus like intentionally kind of makes it gross.
Yeah.
And so the difference between the characters is really clear. Mm-hmm. The rich man has all that he needs. We hear of nothing wrong with his skin or anything like that. But the poor man, Lazarus, is not just poor, but really poor and also sick.
Yeah.
So the story starts them in 2 very different places. And then by the end of the story, they've kind of switched places.
Right.
So I think in some ways, anybody who's poor or sick can see themselves a little bit in Lazarus and identify with him.
Yeah. Coleman also wanted to know, wondered what the sores looked like.
Yeah.
I mean, if the dogs were licking them.
Then, I imagine they're pretty bad. I don't really want to gross people out who are listening to this, but yeah, I think, yeah.
The word that kept coming to mind for me, and this is so gross. Oozing?
Yes. Or, all right, let's just get gross. Like when you've had a Band-Aid on for a long time.
Yeah.
And things haven't dried out, and then you take the Band-Aid off.
I
That's
can't.
the stuff.
Oh, gross.
Happy Halloween, almost. Yeah.
So when I was in high school, I had something called shingles.
Oh.
And which is like chicken pox, but bigger.
Yeah.
And they were in my head.
Ooh.
And so my head always felt like I had just washed my hair, but I hadn't.
Ooh.
They were wet.
Oh. Gosh, this is going to be our grossest episode ever.
I know.
Oh, now I'm not hungry anymore.
Yeah, sorry about that. Now
Yeah.
you know why I didn't finish the fries, because I had already researched the story.
That's gross.
Okay, so the third I wonder question, which was a good I wonder question, not about body fluids, was if the rich man had been nice, would he have gotten to go be where Lazarus went?
I think that's a good question. What do you think?
I think yes. I think that if he had just been kinder and if he had shared, I don't think it had anything to do with him being rich or poor, because Abraham was there. Abraham is the other named character in the story, right? The rich man's the only one that doesn't have a name. Lazarus and Abraham are there. And Abraham in the Bible was a rich man, but he also was kind and he followed God and he gave things away and he got to go be in the good place, as opposed to this rich man who was not.
Yeah, I think part of what it makes me wonder is this story about niceness or is it about poor folks?
Right.
If the story is about niceness, then that's absolutely what we should wonder But part of what the story is about isn't just about the rich man. It's about what God does for Lazarus, and God's love for the poor, or at least Abraham's love for the poor. That it's Lazarus didn't do anything particularly good in the story to earn his way next to Abraham.
No.
All he did was suffer, and that suffering ended up meaning that he got to rest after death. That's one part of the story. The other part is that the rich man had everything he needed. He didn't really have to suffer.
Right.
But then after death, he experienced that as really bad suffering. So yeah, those are great I wonder questions. And I don't really think that Jesus gives us the answer in the story. He just kind of lets us wonder.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah. That's what we're doing.
It can be frustrating.
Yes.
Like if you're the kind of person that says, what do I have to do to get rich? Jesus isn't going to help you with that. Or what do I have to do to get to Abraham? Jesus isn't all that much help with that either. Part of what the story shows me is that Jesus wants to tell a story where a poor person gets help.
Right. I like that. So I asked Coleman, what does this story tell us about God? Right? Because every story in the Bible is a book about God. Just using humans as examples. And the thing that Coleman said was, God loves you if you're poor or rich.
Nice.
That he loves you. Whether, like you said, Lazarus, he's being taken care of. And he goes from a life of suffering to an eternity of rest. Right? And the Abraham says, they have the law, they have the prophets, they have all of these things. Like, it's there, and God gives you this opportunity, right? He loves you, and he wants everybody to be in this special place of rest, right? And so that was just something that Coleman noticed. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that. I think that for the people that were first listening to this, I don't know what was going on in their heads, but if you think that when good things happen to you, it's because God is blessing you. And if bad things happen to you, God is mad at you. This story and what Coleman said is exactly right. That this story says, no, God doesn't just love rich people. God also loves poor people.
Yes.
And I think that because because we're in a church, we kind of know that. Like we've read that lesson. But there are still times when we can think, if bad stuff happens to us, what did I do wrong?
Right.
And this story is a hopeful story about that Lazarus' suffering ultimately ends in Lazarus being given rest.
Right.
And that whether good things or bad things are happening to you is not actually an indicator of whether God loves you. And that's what I think Coleman picks up on. And I think it's absolutely right.
Yeah. So something else that we're doing with the parable series is anytime Jesus told a parable, right, one of the characters is him or God. And so I asked Coleman, who is Jesus in the story? If Jesus is telling the story about himself, and without even hesitating, he was like, oh, he's Lazarus. And I mean, he just knew that. And I asked him why. Why do you think that Jesus is supposed to be Lazarus in this story? And he said it was because Jesus was not very wealthy. He was kind of poor. He was born in a barn.
Yeah.
And was a carpenter. And also because he was mistreated. And that just, Coleman has kind of realized that when somebody is mistreated in a parable, that's Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought that was a pretty good answer. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that. I love that Coleman, when he sees suffering, he remembers Jesus. I think that's what Jesus wants us to notice. I think that's what the Bible tells us. I also think there's this really cool thing in this parable where Abraham talks about no one from the dead can come talk to you. And even if they came back from the dead, your brothers probably wouldn't listen. And there's a little clue there, a little hint there that Abraham's talking about what if somebody came back from the dead to give you a message. And so in that that makes me wonder if Jesus isn't necessarily one of these characters yet.
Right.
Because part of where the story goes from here is that Jesus does die, just like the rich man and Lazarus, and 3 days later he's raised from the dead. And when he's raised from the dead, that's when everybody not everybody, but people start to say, oh, now we know who you really are. And the message that he brings back from the dead is the message he's been saying all along about who God is and how to love one another. And so in the song as well, that's kind of where I think Jesus is Jesus is the first one who comes back from the dead. And then we get to see how the story actually turns out.
Right.
And then the listener gets kind of asked the question, so are you going to listen to the one that came back from the dead? Because that's what Abraham says, is they probably won't even listen to him. But now someone has come back from the dead, and we're invited to think about, are we going to actually listen to what he said? Are we going to take this story and all the things that Jesus had said and done seriously?
Right.
Or are we going to be like the rich man and brothers who are just love their money, love their lifestyle, and don't care about people like Lazarus? Mm-hmm. And I feel like in Coleman's own wondering and talking about the story, Coleman's one that is listening to Jesus, and that means that he's looking for certain things, expecting certain things, and knows things about God because Jesus has told us about God.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you've got a full belly.
Yes.
Your brain is thinking hard.
I'm ready.
Coleman was motivated by Gail to stump you.
Okay.
He was bringing the heat all the way up to this point, and he continued to bring the heat.
Coleman, I'll try not to take this personally, but let's do it.
All right. Here's the first one. What kind of clothes did the rich man wear?
Good question.
And it's in the Bible.
Yes. It's like purple linen.
Yes.
Yeah.
He wore purple linen.
Oh, that was a good stump question. And yeah, my full respect to Coleman, but that didn't get me.
Okay. Why is it special that the rich man was wearing purple linen?
It's expensive. Mm-hmm. And purple is a color that symbolizes royalty.
Yes.
So it's the kind of color that kings and rulers would wear, mm-hmm. partially because it's really expensive to make.
Yeah. And linen was a very fine cloth that, like, you wouldn't wear if you did work.
Right.
Linen would easily tear.
Right. This is not overalls.
No, this
right.
is somebody that lives in the lap of luxury. And so it was very important.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I'm going to preface this. We already know that this answer is not in the Bible.
Okay.
But you are married to a PA.
Okay.
Which is like a doctor.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a medical question.
Okay.
And we're going to see how much you pay attention.
Can I phone a friend?
No.
Okay.
How'd Lazarus get them sores?
Ooh.
And your best medical proxy knowledge.
Yeah. So there are a couple possible scenarios. One is that he could have had a disease called leprosy, which is a disease that we know about in the Bible that people still have today, but it's a skin disease mm-hmm. where your skin starts degrading. That's one thing. Another could be that if he's poor enough that to want the scraps from the rich man's table, he might be too poor to get medical help when he does have an injury. Mm-hmm. He could have even been attacked by bandits on the road, like a person from another parable we've talked about.
Okay.
But if you're poor enough that you can't actually afford medical care, little things get worse. Mm-hmm. So a bump on the knee ends up being a big sore. So that's kind of just my eye wondering about it. But it's an occasion to talk about the fact that a lot of hospitals and free clinics in the world were started by Christians mm-hmm. And people of faith that because of the stories about God, don't want anybody to get so poor that they've got those kinds of sores on their body. and want everybody to be able to have medical care, whether or not they can afford it.
Yeah. And shout out to your wife.
Absolutely.
Who does stuff like that.
Yes.
Because she's so cool.
Yes. And next, for the next time there's anything medical, I will include conversations with my wife in my preparation so I don't get stumped.
Okay. We'll say I will not stump you on that, except if he had leprosy, he wouldn't have been outside the rich man's gate. Lepers were like not allowed in the city. So I'm just saying.
Fair enough.
I don't want to correct you, but
Ready
I'm
to
correcting you on
burst my bubble. Now I need some French fries to feel better. Okay.
Sorry about that, buddy. Do you want me to just keep talking about head sores? So
Nope.
All right. Here's the third one. And I think this is another one too that is in the story.
Oh, gosh.
How many brothers did the rich man have?
4. Oh, man. 3?
Nope.
2.
Nope.
9.
5.
5.
He had 5 brothers.
Oh.
So close.
Yeah.
So close.
Oh, what's funny about that, though, is if he had 5 brothers in the Bible, a lot of times, anytime something's in 5s, it's a reference to the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible.
Yeah.
So I should have guessed 5.
Yeah. And we're told that they had the Torah.
Yeah.
That
They had that. Yeah. There's 5 of them. There's 5 books. They each read one. They talk about it. They could do some learning.
exactly.
Yeah. Maybe I should do some learning. Good job, Coleman.
Yeah. So Coleman, you got him. You stumped Pastor Drew on one.
I hope you're happy.
He's going to be very happy. I just have me a feeling he's going to be very happy when he listens to this.
All right. You get a free high five next time I see you, Coleman.
Yeah. All right. So, I just, once again, I think that this is a great story that helps us remember that, like you said, God cares about everyone, especially those that are suffering. And it's something really special to remember that even if you're suffering here, there's somebody that's taking care of you, right? Mm-hmm. And to those of us that are not suffering, to those of us that do live a life of rest or that maybe have more than others, it's very important to notice those people that maybe do need your help, right?
Yeah.
Because Lazarus lived outside the rich man's house. Like he sat outside of his gate every day, but the Bible never says, or Jesus never said that the rich man noticed him, right? He was just a part of the landscape. But when it actually mattered, that's when he started to notice Lazarus. Yeah. So maybe we should notice others when we can help them, not just when they can help us. Yeah.
In general, there's a thing that people that study the Bible talk about that they notice about God through the whole Bible, that it seems like God has what they call a preferential option for the poor. What that means is that God pays attention to the poor and suffering in the world and seems to be focused on helping them way more than God is focused on making rich people rich.
Yes.
You know, that what God actually has a heart for is poor folks or suffering folks or lost folks and so on and so forth. I think now that's a common enough understanding because we know that about God, that it's something we value in our culture. I think part of what this story does when Jesus tells it is that this is new information.
So the next time you have the opportunity to share with someone, or the next time someone shares something with you, remember the story.
Yeah.
And remember how we are called to bless others with the things that we've been blessed with.
Yes. And as you're planning your Halloween costume for this year, consider going as Lazarus from this parable.
With all the sores.
That would be so awesome.
And carry little stuffed dogs.
Yeah, I can see like 2 siblings going as the rich man and Lazarus and having a lot of fun with it.
I can't wait to see that at Trunk or Treat.
Oh, you'll get 2 free high fives if you do that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today in the minivan. We had such a great time with you. And thank you to Coleman for sitting down and talking with us. Parents, don't forget we have our companion episode called The Driver's Seat, where we talk about the same story without the kids in the car. If you have any I Wonder questions, or if you have any story ideas that you want to hear about, or if you want to If you have any Stump Pastor Drew questions that you want to share with us, you can send us an email to minivangelism@gmail.com. We got an amazing email this week from Mackenzie and her dad, John. Mackenzie's 5, and she had some wonderful questions that we are going to be able to address in some later episodes. Also, parents, if you want to follow us on Instagram, you can follow us at Minivangelism. We'd love if you followed us. You can get updates on upcoming episodes, some recaps of things, and some behind the scenes pictures and videos. And we just want to hear from you and know that you're listening.
Yeah. And after today's story, I hope that part of what you'll notice is also the people who are poor and suffering in your own community.
Yes.
And one of the biggest things to do is to just notice them because God notices them. And then also remember that our God has the power even to raise the dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. All right. You want to refill on your fries?
I do.
The next one's on me.
Yes. Let's go get some fries.
Oh, let's go.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Minivangelism and the Driver's Seat are hosted by Anna Burrell and Drew Colby. Theme song written by David Burrell and produced by Evan Setzer. The theme song was performed by David Burrell, Drew Colby, and Evan Setzer. Podcast, sound design, and editing done by David Burrell. Minivangelism and the Driver's Seat are a ministry of Grace United Methodist Church in Manassas, Virginia. For more information, check out umcgrace.org.